I want to thank our community sports organisations representatives today. We have here Glenn Hamblyn, who's the General Manager and Head Coach for Comet Swim Club, but he's also associated with Midway Surf Lifesaving and Kayaking too. So thanks, Glenn, for joining us. Actually, it was an early conversation with Glenn on the side of the swimming pool that kind of sparked this whole direction, this offshoot of this project for us. So kia ora, Glenn. We have Taryne Papuni from representing Te Urunga o Te Rā Sport and Rec Club, the Waiapu Rugby Sub-Union. So thank you for joining us. Then we have Peter Boyd, representing Ngati Porou Surf Lifesaving and Mareikura Waka, and Flo Bubb, Surfing Development Manager from Gisborne Boardriders Surf Club. So thanks to our panellists. The first question I have for you is, how did Cyclone Gabrielle and other weather events, because we know repeated weather events, impact your sport and your sporting community? And we can just share this around. This one? Yep. Who would like to take that first?
Can I have a crack at that? So it's all kind of blends into one big event, really. Get a bit lost around what we're up to, but I can remember we were over at Olympic Pools doing our program at Comet long before I took over as a general manager, and we were under a tent and it was cold and wet and miserable at the time, and the pool got shut down because of the weather, mostly because of the water. So the effects on us were that our guys just couldn't show up to training. And we've spoken about COVID here already, a kind of an extended impact on that, and it was almost from our swimmers and our families the sort of here we go again scenario. When are we going to be able to get into the water? When are we going to be able to do our thing? And at this time of year, which is when it all happened, it's a pretty important time for swimmers to be in the pool training and doing their thing with competitions coming up. So it was a really big impact. We also run a relatively big swim school in Gisborne, and that got shut down as well because of the water. So quite a few families, whānau, swimming from little ones right up to our big swimming kids were all affected, not being able to get into the water. And at the time, we didn't know when they were going to be able to return. And we had a few solutions up our sleeve, but like Stefan said before, the work side of it goes out the window, and it was all about trying to help our people get back on track and see where we could go. But as far as effects goes, it was, I think most of the kids that you saw up here before are some way involved in Comet through Surf Lifesaving or swimming, and you saw the comments. As swimming coaches, we kind of get lost in a little bit of the old results and training and making sure you're ready for the next meet, but the bigger impact, what we learnt through the study and talking to the kids, is just being able to get back to what they love to do and why they love to do it, and they weren't able to do that, and there was a whole lot of uncertainty around it, and that was probably the biggest impact on the mental health of the kids and people involved. Yeah.
Kia ora, Glenn. I should note this is Glenn's son featuring in this kayaking image over here, a striking image from Josie McClutchy.
Tēnā tātou. Ko hikarangi te maunga ko Waiapu te awa ko Ngati Porou te iwi. Ko Taryne Papuni a hau e mihi atu ana kia koutou. Kia tātou katoa. This is my +1 for the day. This is Te Kainau Tangaire. He's one of our mokopunas from the rugby club. Like most people on the coast, you take every opportunity that you can to get into the hairdresser and all of those kind of things, because we don't have those services here. So he's with me today while his mum gets a whole head of foils. Oh, I just want to acknowledge Holly and Josie. Tēnei te mihi atu kia kōrua. Thank you for reaching out to the Waiapu Rugby Club and giving us the opportunity for our rangatahi to have their voices and to share their experiences, especially around the climate change, the floods. So, getting back to the question. For us in Rangitukia, which is where our club is. So that is 2.5 hours north of Gisborne, up the coast on the other side of the Waiapu River. We're a small population, we're isolated. So what that meant for us is that we had no rugby. If we're talking specifically about rugby, rugby was shut down for a while. What that meant for us is that our kids, we're kind of lucky though, because our kids were able to still carry on a number of other activities that they normally do, hunting, fishing, all of those kind of things. But if we're talking about taiao and how that affected them, we're talking about, just like Te Waiapu said, slash logs on our beaches. So you can't get to go and fish. You can't get to access your natural kāpata kai, all of those kind of things. If we're talking about a sports science kind of perspective, what does that mean for us? If we have a training, we're not like Gisborne, we don't have the kiwa pools, we don't have recovery facilities. So what does that mean? We can't go to our ancestral rivers, or river, Waiapu, or the Mareikura, to recover after training. It means that we can't continue to practice our normal tikanga around those spaces. Some of the other things that happened for us is that, you know, with the cyclone, we had holes in the roof, so we had damage to our club. It meant that our club, next to our marae, is the community hub. Next to our marae and schools, I should say. So when the cyclone happened, the club opened up. It opened up to the rest of our hapuri to come to have a kai, have a shower, and all of that, all of those kind of things. But definitely our land and rivers and seas were affected. That affected how we interacted, and we're able to maintain our tikanga and our protocols around kai and all of that. But I think one of the main things that's happened now is that when the State Highway 35 was out, that meant that a lot of our players couldn't get together and train. So, you know, I mentioned that we're a small community. Half of our players live in town, the other half are up the coast. So what does that mean? That means travelling on the horrible State Highway 35. It's the cost of trying to get together. It's managing families, managing your school time. So yeah, those were all of the things that really affected us. Yeah, I think I'll pass it on now. I've said enough.
Thank you.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, pātangata te maunga, wharekai hika te aua, hene mauri a te marae, te whānau tūwhaki ora. Peter Boyd, kia ora. I'm here to represent Ngati Porou Surf Lifesaving and Mareikura Wakarama Club. So with Mareikura Wakarama Club, we first established here 40 years ago. We're the oldest club in New Zealand, and Wakarama started here in Tairāwhiti with one canoe. And over that 40 years, Wakarama is massive now. My mokapunas are involved in it now. And so that, with my Ngati Porou Surf Lifesaving hat on, I've been a lifeguard for 40 years. I qualified in 84, 85 with Wainui Surf Club. I competed with them for 30 years. And then 10 years ago, I decided to start a club that was focused on bringing Māori into the surf lifesaving space, because culturally, that's us. So Ngati Porou Surf Lifesaving, we're the youngest surf lifesaving club in New Zealand. And in that period, we've qualified about 90 guards. Yeah. In terms of the question here, I had all this stuff, I had a thought about it, but I think a lot of that's already been answered. And so all I kind of want to talk about is a bit of a timeline from my experience with Wakaama and surf lifesaving. 1988, Cyclone Bowler hit here. We had one canoe here in Gisborne, one canoe in the whole of New Zealand. I remember Matahi Whakataka Brightwell, the founding father of Waka, Waka katoa. And so I remember him saying to me, Pete, we're going to move that Waka. Back then, we were down at the end of Vogel Street, which is Vogel Street, and there was, for you that knew, there was the Tainui Scouts. We were there. We had one canoe. We shifted it. We put it up top there. One of the neighbours, old Pākehā fella, just said to us, yeah, come and bring your canoe here. So we left it there. So that was our experience from that period. But also, a couple of hours later, we were, as surf lifesavers, we were called up to the Gisborne police station because we had to respond to the cyclone bowler that was happening. There would have been about 40 of us in the Gisborne police station, and they said, no, you're all right, we're going to split half yous up. So we ended up staying. But then the first lot, they meant to come back, and then we ended up, and then all of a sudden there was an emergency call. Somebody was stuck in the Waiapu in a house, and there was in Uwawa, and Mangatuna too. I think it rose up really quickly there, Daryl. I remember your whānau was involved. So, yeah. So I don't know if that's answered the question. So what did we see the damage and the effect that it had on Waka and surf lifesaving? More so for Waka, Cyclone Boulder didn't tend to hit town then. And the mistake we done this year with Gabriel, 2 years ago, with Gabriel, is because I remembered Cyclone Bowler and the river and how it came down. So the effects of Bowler, for us that remember, was all around in the countryside. But in town, it didn't really affect our wakas and stuff. But where we were, it was covered in silt. So in terms of the effect that Cyclone Gabriel had, I still had a living memory in terms of we're based at De Costa Park, which is a small park. We're our Paku club, our surf lifesaving club, just a container there, and thinking in my head, no, this is going to be sweet as. And thinking the same with Mareikura, because we're at Anzac Park. I remember, because I live in Fox Street, they just said, was an alert that came through, just said, river rising, get out now if you live by the rivers. And next morning I woke up and had a look, and it was literally a tsunami that had cut across Mareikura with the rowing club. All that just came straight across and smacked right into where we were in De Costa Park. Lifted up our container and flipped it over. We lost a lot of stuff in there. We had a lot of our club records that were stored in there. We lost boats. It ripped it off the foundations, and it was like a shock to see all the houses along the river that were taken out too. But anyway, I'm going on. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Peter. My name is Flo. I have had the pleasure of managing the Gisborne Boardriders the last 7 or 8 years. And I feel since COVID, every year had its challenges, and after a while you kind of grow and adapt and use it as an opportunity. I will briefly talk about the challenges. For us, it's all about sharing the stoke, and we are running initiatives from Mahia to Hicks Bay now. Got containers up the coast to Komaru Bay, Waipiru Bay and Hicks Bay. And so there were a lot of challenges, but also a lot of opportunity. The challenges are obvious. Te Waiapu touched on them. Obviously, we couldn't get up the coast anymore. We couldn't run any competitions here because of logs in the water, because of the sewage. I think Gabrielle is important, but there have been so many weather events in between that are equally important, and I know it's costly, and I'm all about sport, but I feel sometimes we have to to address the root cause and not just put plasters on it. And I think we are advertising ourselves as a region for the beautiful sandy beaches and the clear water and everything. And sport is important, but I feel the sewage is the most important to address in our town. That's my kōrero here. The challenges we overcame, and it probably doesn't answer the question, but we turned it around and collaborated with the likes of Whitiora and the police and others to give the community a bit of joy and help with what we're best at. We're good at running events and sharing the stoke and having fun and kind of giving the opportunity to kids that otherwise haven't got the opportunity. one of the challenges we had not getting up the coast, we turned it around and engaged with the kids in Te Karaka and Waipiru and offered them a day of surfing and a day on the beach and getting away from the stress at home. Probably answers Holly's next question, but we heard a lot about the challenges. And it was a beautiful collaboration between Whitiora and the police and Wairoa, kind of finding those communities and kids whānau that are most affected, and then bringing some joy to them and making the most of it. Because I feel that life, we have to see that in our day and age and climate change, probably we will have those challenges ongoing, and we just have to adapt and make the most of what we got, and and get better in the future. But yeah, I feel those challenges, if we got good leaders in our town and our community, then we can address those challenges and have a bright future, hopefully.
Kia ora, Flo. So that does start addressing my next question, which was any challenges you overcame with innovative solutions? Back to you, Glenn.
Thank you. But as far as getting a pool up and running goes, it was pretty tough getting, obviously we got water and the water pipe's broken, so the city didn't have any water going. We came up with a couple of solutions that we thought would work really well. Running rainwater into our pool, so we didn't have to use and put pressure on the town system for as long as we had it working. And one of our pools was okay with that and worked really well. We tried to help out, take over a pool at Boys High, because that doesn't get used for the same scenario. That didn't work so well. They weren't that keen to sort of break protocol on that, and even though we thought our solution was pretty safe and sound and wouldn't impact anything, so we weren't allowed to do that. We were lucky enough to get some funding for some dry land gear, so some gym gear, set up a little circuit gym so the kids could still connect. We couldn't go to the pool because it's closed. This place wasn't open yet, so we couldn't use that, but now we're using this as a little base for that sort of thing, for future. So I guess that's a bit of a solution to future problems for us, coming up with different ways. Trying to collab, I think. These guys on the panel here, from our point of view as a swimming club, we've got a bit of a resource over here. So one of our kind of solutions or problem solving was perhaps getting together and working with the surf clubs. The surf club kids have to swim. A lot of them are already swimmers. The kayaking club, those guys are involved in water. You guys are surf. They're all seen. So this kind of opportunity to talk to everyone in the room and maybe come up with a plan, because Comet's more than happy to have. It doesn't matter if you want to be a swimmer or a surf lifesaver or a surfer, you connect with the water and it all helps. So if there's opportunities for us to assist with that kind of thing, I think that was probably the big thinking. At Gabriel time, it was mostly the surf club, because obviously once the pool did get up and running again, we were able to get in and train and have a program, but the beach was still pretty messy and the guys couldn't get out and do their thing. So that was a bit of a solution for us, just opening the doors really and talking to coaches, talking to programs, what do you need, how can we help. It was only probably too small just with the timeline we had, but looking forward, I think even rugby clubs and other sports teams, I think we've learned today that that's more about connecting and getting back together and seeing people rather than the actual training and all the rest of it. So we can hopefully provide a little platform for that going forward and offer that to the community. So I think that was probably one of a solution that we're looking for the future as well, not just at the time.
Thanks, Glenn.
What was the question again?
Any challenges you overcame with innovative solutions?
Well, like I said before, our club is we're split. So we have a lot of our players that live here in Gisborne, live and work here in Gisborne, with the rest of them being from Hokainga. So once State Highway 35 was open and running, which took, I think, a couple of months, for a lot of our whānau, that meant reconnecting with each other again. So we took all of that opportunity to open the club back up again for rugby. get everybody down at the club. I had also mentioned before that our club was, during the cyclone, was just like a marae. So we had opened it up. I think the funding that we received after Cyclone Gabrielle, it allowed us to get all of those repairs done on our club to make it fit for purpose. In saying that, we're looking for more funding. We want to build a real neat facility up the coast that can be the one-stop shop, especially around sports and fitness and having a proper gym. Our gym is a big old building. It's kind of falling apart. I'm not too sure if it's actually up to standard, but the focus for our club over the next 5 years, which we've identified after the cyclone and having hui with our whānau about what their key priorities are moving forward, is to build up the club, to build it as a facility where all the whānau can still keep on coming to and enjoying the resources that we have, but we want to get new equipment, we want to get new facilities. Whenever we have a game, we've got 3 showers, so 4 teams. Normally we send the women's down to Hinepare Marae for their showers after the games, and then the fellas, because their game is after, they can share the three showers or go back to their homes. Just looking to build the club so that if this happens again, and it will definitely happen, with the way our climate is changing, we want to be able to have that club open and running at maximum capacity.
Taryne, when I came up to visit you, I was amazed to hear about the initiative from some of your young wahine, featured in this photograph over here, who, recognising the financial challenges of the roading and the travel time for the team, set up a horse track to self-fund.
Yeah, thank you for that prompt. So being rural and isolated and lower socio-economics, our club relies on community, and we're self-funded most of the time. We find it very difficult to complete funding applications. It's quite restricted. So, we have to depend on ourselves to finance ourselves. Our Waiapu women's, and they've just had their second horse trek, which had around 120 horse trekkers that travelled from as far as Kaikoura. They're a community of people that go around New Zealand, Aotearoa, and do all the horse treks. But it's also an opportunity for the club for them to raise funds for their season, to contribute to the property and maintenance and repairs of the club. It's also an opportunity for our kids, because we've got a big horsing community at Rangitukia, and this is one of the things that I was saying before, is that we're quite lucky. Even though rugby wasn't happening, our kids were still able to get on their horses, still able to go hunting, not so much fishing with all of the blimmin' logs in the sea, but that's one initiative. And actually we've got, so that just actually finished last week, and we've got horse sports at the club in March, but we have a lot of community events like that bring the community together, strengthen our whakapapa and our whanaungatanga and our reo and our tikanga. Yeah, so kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Daryl spoke about this earlier on anyway with Ukaipo, but as Ngati Porou, Mareikura, we created our own karakia after Gabriel, our own mōtete, our own waiata. So that was just being us as Māori, us being Ngati Porou. Those were our solutions in terms of our challenges we had, and just making sure when our paddlers went into the moana, went into the river, they were holistically safe because of this porou that was around. So it's not only that. So I don't know if it's a solution or innovation, it's just us being us. Some of the physical things we've done to change, I saw the opportunity being a lifeguard. So Ngati Porou and Mareikura have a working relationship. A pair of our young boys, we ended up taking them out to Wainui to train. So we took off the hoi Waka and we put on the togs and swam. And so there's that crossover there. So those are the solutions for us, because the water was porou in town, but it was okay at Wainui and Makarori and on the coast. So those were kind of the solutions we asked. Another thing we looked at in terms of, it's not innovation, it's solution. Up there, that's our tipuna there, that's our club logo. That's our tipuna paikea riding southern right whale. I thought it was an orca, but it wasn't. That's Hikurangi and the Waiapu. So in there's lots of stories. So if we use that the paikea corridor, there's some cyclone messages in a lot of our corridor. So the story of Paikea and his brother Ruatapu. And Ruatapu warned his brother, after they had a bit of a falling out, that I will send these storms to you on the east coast that will take you out. So we've had pre-warnings. There's lots of these guidelines in our local culture that can help us move forward into the 21st century. For being here for 1,000 years, there's lots of answers within these corridor that we have.
Thank you. I think we haven't been super innovative, but we just always have the goal of keep on surfing, or at least being physically active. So we used our trailer, which we usually use for competitions, taking the surfboards out to Makarori and running initiatives out there. At that time, we didn't have storage down here and no office, but we had a container. So we could surf out at Makarori. We were also targeting other communities where we were able to make surfing accessible. I had contact with the council, and the idea was to move the container from Midway to northern Makarori for a limited amount of time, for 6 weeks. And it would have cost probably a few $100 in 30 minutes of time, but that was denied, which I think where we can get a bit more innovative and allow things for the betterment of the community in the future. And last but not least, I think our satellite containers come in handy, because Auntie Shai up in Wharekaka was surfing with 3 generations a day or 2 after cyclone hit, because they weren't affected by the locks. So they could take care of their well-being. They didn't have internet, but they could go surfing, so that was beautiful. And another time I remember just with Glenn from Comet. So when Town Beach is bad, or we run camps with the performance kids, we have utilized the pool and the coaching expertise from Glenn and just put the kids in the pool when we weren't able to use the ocean. Those are kind of the, innovation doesn't always need to be massive and big. It can be small changes, just keeping people active.
Great responses. Thank you so much. So there's so much knowledge in this community because we've had these repeated events here, and a lot of the responses have been quite reactive to situations that we've found ourselves in. But as I say to people when I talk about this topic, there's other parts of the country who might not be feeling the effects of climate change quite so much, but this is coming to a town near you. So I'd like to, the next question, ask our panel to share any insights or learnings with sports organisations from other parts of the country to help them get prepared. What do they need to know that you've learned, not the hard way, but through the doing?
I think it's really about building relationships. Flo just mentioned that, I don't know if it was the council, someone denied you the opportunity to take a container to Makarori, but We had the same kind of issues around getting pools up and running. We know we're doing it for the right reason. We want to get the kids back in the water, whether it's learn to swim or over at the pool here. And the few barriers put up for whatever reason, there wasn't really opportunity to sit down at a face-to-face meeting and explain our side of the story and why we wanted to do things. And like I said before, we had a pretty robust plan on how we wanted to do it after a bit of experience. So I think that's probably something you want to start building those relationships now. Like I said, we've since I've been around, we've built a pretty good relationship here at Midway, and I think with the other surf clubs in the city as well, is around getting the kids involved with us and our kids involved with them, so that kind of builds a little resilience into our program. But you need to sit down and build those relationships and take the time to do that before it's pouring with rain and the beach is all messed up. So get a step ahead on that, I think. And just not just that, with Flo and with Pete, these guys, and even the clubs, why can't soccer players, rugby players, whoever wants to come and have a swim, come and have a swim if we can offer that. And just build, same thing, we're still building relationships with the council over at the pool. We use the pool quite a bit, and having that as part of their mindset as well to deal with us. We're not trying to take over or make it our pool or anything. We just wanted the pool used for the right reasons and getting kids involved in times like this and disasters and when we've got a fantastic facility over there that hopefully is resilient to some of these things that happen now, and so we can be a big part of that. So I'd just say have a think now and pick some people in your community. We're still doing it, we're still trying, we're still working hard with the other swim club in town and making sure that we're happy with them and they're happy with us to mitigate some of this stuff, but it's an ongoing process, I think.
Yeah, these situations, these events put a lot of pressure on a community. So if you've got those pre-existing relationships built on trust and respect already, that's going to help those synergies and sharing those resources and connections in the midst of extreme situations. Over to you, Taryne.
I just want to acknowledge, it used to be called Sports Tairāwhiti. I just want to acknowledge Sports Tairāwhiti Whitiora. Whitiora? Yes, kia ora. Now, just taking off my Waiapu hat and putting on my under-15s East Coast managers, under-15 boys managers hat. Through the funding that we received from the Tū Manawa Fund, we were able to hold two wānanga on our marae, one at Hinepare and one at Ohine Waiapu. And it was focused on team bonding, whakawhanaungatanga, but it also, with that funding, it enabled us to be able to reach into our local fishermen and hunters, and the boys got to go and fish traditionally down at the Waiapu River. For example, then they had caught 25 kahawai and they brought it back to the marae, they smoked it, and then they gave it out to all of the nannies and papas in the community. So, when we're talking about investing in a club like Waiapu or the coast, those are the kinds of mahi that our rangatahi get involved with. It's not just training, sports, win a game. It's about continuing the lifestyle, looking after our kāpata and our wider community. Thank you for that funding. We're looking for more funding.
Taking notes, Taryne.
One of the learnings, just still with my East Coast hat on, but also because many of our kids make up the team. So with the East Coast, we had, not last year, the year before that, we're dealing with an area from Gisborne to Pōtaka, Te Toka Taio ki Pōtikirua. We're talking about 200 k's. We're talking, that's our iwi boundary. And Ngati Porou East Coast Rugby is the only iwi rugby team in the world. So we're dealing with 11 schools, This is where we get all our players from. Then we also reach out because everybody wants to play for the iwi. And so we had kids travelling from Rotorua, Auckland. So, you know, having our roads open, able to travel on and meet together is really important to developing our sports. One of the other learnings, I think, was that because we had suffered so much devastation, disconnection from the rest of Aotearoa, it kind of meant that when we were out trying to look for games for our kids, nobody really wants to come to Ruatoria or Rangitukia. You know, first of all, you got to get across that State Highway 35. Nobody wants to get trapped there. God forbid we have another cyclone while they're all there. But these are the kind of challenges that we really face. And if you ask any of the kids back home, they just want to get out of the community. They want to go to Auckland. They want to go to Rotorua. So this is where our trying to help them achieve their goals and get to where they've got to go to. And with funding support, it's so crucial to being able to assist with that.
Some insights and learning for us in lifesaving. You know that it's swim between the flags, but in lifeguarding, it's actually outside the flags where a lot of the stuff happens. A lot of the drownings, a lot of the responding stuff is there. So what we've done as part of the response to Gabriel is that we're taking these life-saving skills to the community. There was one thing I noticed during Gabriel, and I thought it was quite a sad scene. The Lawson Field Theatre, and there were people outside with their phones going, you know, and I just thought, there's something wrong with that picture. And the picture was communication was a breakdown. So with our lifeguarding or patrol support people, we teach people to use radios, you teach people how to respond, you teach people beach education so they know how to respond, particularly on the coast, because the cavalry ain't coming. The other thing that we want to talk about is actual coastal recovery on boats, because the Blue Highway is a real thing. Once our roads are gone, they're gone. They're gone for months. They're gone, you know, they're still recovering now. So it's about outside the flag thinking for us as Ngati Porou / Mareikura Waka ama, and it's education of these skills that we have. We're not worried if they come on patrol or not. The important thing is we've got 100 years worth of knowledge in surf lifesaving that needs to be taken out to our communities. And you don't have to become a lifeguard, but as a response. Outside of the district, internationally, we still have very strong, in terms of Waka ama, we still have very strong ties with Tahiti and Hawaii. Now the Pacific always gets hit by cyclones. They've been having it mai rano. So what are some of the lessons we can learn from our whanaungas up in the Pacific on how they deal with storms? So when I was a kid, I never heard the word cyclone. So that's probably some of our, that's basically some of our stuff. A lot of the other stuff's already been talked about.
Kia ora, Peter.
Thank you. I think sport in general can teach us a lot about life in a 15-minute heat or in a race or an adventure race or whatever we are doing. We can learn so much. And I think what we learned in the cyclone or other weather events is that kind of adaptability, what the other said, the connection. I think having no internet for 7 days was quite healthy. And it was nice to communicate to people again, like in the old ways, and have a true connection, not just online and quick. So that connection between clubs, the connection in our community is important, keeping that up, although we are all online, making sure to looking somebody in the eyes and kind of and listening deeply. I think we gotta change our mindset and kind of make those weather events part of our life or any other adversity, and just accept the challenges and work with them, see them as opportunities. And I know funding is hard in our region, but I think it's important to build kind of a safety cushion, like a reserve in our clubs and communities. So if weather events are hitting or stuff get damaged and funding is not available, or class 4 funding is not around, or any other things, we are able to still have awesome events in our community, deliver events, have sport, have community, and not rely so much on others. I know it's not always easy, but if we can have that little safety cushion in our lives and in our clubs, I think it helps a lot, and we can get through those dips a lot better. What else was there? I think that's about it. That's probably the financial part, yeah.
Awesome, great points, thank you. Just finishing up before we have lunch, but very, very quickly, you can maybe just a couple of words. What support do you think would be useful to help your sports organisation get more prepared for a changing climate?
Oh, I'm going to jump in and say money, but make it easy. I've said it the whole time I've been up here, just building those relationships so that we can do things when we cut short on weather events.
Would you like to see more support from, say, national sports organisations, or would?
Yeah, and in our specific, from swimming, with my swimming hat on, absolutely. I guess having an understanding of the isolation. And I know we're nowhere near as isolated as up the coast, but from a national point of view, and personally I've had people from our national sports organisation come here and not really understand how far away we are from places. So even just understanding that part of it, and trying to get our kids out to swim competitions when I think at one point we were due to go to Hastings for a swim competition during Gabriel on the aftermath. And at one point we were having a drive through the gorge down to Palmerston North and back up again, which was going to add a day and 2 days to our trip and cost and what have you. No thought of anything from national sports organisation to help us out there. And even just understanding the impact of it. Nationals in Hastings, and we all know that they got smashed as well, you know. So yeah, well, that would be a great help, just to get involved with them and sit around and understand what it's like out here for our guys.
Some understanding and empathy for what the community's going through.
Just again, I guess it comes down to that relationship. You know, we're out here. We don't offer 500-600 kids to a swim meet. You know, we might offer 10 or 12 to a national swim meet from Gisborne, from our region. So we're not really seen as a, but.
They worked extra hard to get there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And what's the potential that we could have from here, you know? So yeah, it would be good to have some help from that angle for sure.
Thanks, Glenn.
Our club had we had a Christmas in the park, and we put up some questions to our whānau about what where do they see our club going? And the 4 key priorities that came out for them were whanaungatanga, tamariki mokopuna, sports development, and sports diversity. So within our club, we've got a number of our rangatahi that represent not only their iwi and their hapu, but they also represent New Zealand. We've had Waka international athletes. We've had Kia Rahi, New Zealand team, Aotearoa team. We've had kids that have travelled around over to Australia to compete in the Australian tag and the Indigenous team. So we're looking to, you know, support their skills, because they've got the talent. They just need more support. So I know we're not like, I see the New Zealand Sports Foundation is heavily invested in sports like rowing, and mainly that's probably because where all our medals come from. But we just invite organisations like that and other organisations to come to Rangitukia, come to Te Urunga o te Rā. That's the name of our club. And Te Urunga o te Rā is the place where you'll see the sun first. So we invite you to come along. Come and see these kids, they're amazing. We just need a little bit more awhi and support. Kia ora.
I was incredibly honoured to visit a couple of months ago, and I've travelled the world to see sport, you know, organised all around the place, and something very special is happening there. And it's a place that so many champions are coming from. I kept asking, what's your special sauce?
I don't know what it is, actually, it might be just genetics, but we've also got, you know, players like Kaipua Olsen-Baker, who was the Player of the Year for the Black Ferns. She's from Rangitukia, from a place called Porou Te Rangi. Gosh, we've got, we had a whānau here that are in the photos. One of the girls over there, I can't really see from here. She plays for the Chiefs. She played for Tauranga, I don't know the name of Bay of Plenty last year. And she's involved in, so we've had a number of talented sports persons that have represented not only home, but all of us here for Aotearoa.
And like you say, it's so much more than the sport, it's the community. We arrived, I thought I was going to do 2 focus groups, but about 50 people turned up that day, all the babies, 4 on horses. I mean, a very special place. So if you have an opportunity, sports organisations, go and learn from them.
Sorry, just before I forget, one of the things that we had in Rangitukia also was we had our first kura reo taiao at Henepare Marae. So that was a reo wānanga focused on climate change and getting back to our traditional methods of looking after our taiao, because, you know, traditionally we have all of that knowledge that came down. But collectively as a world, definitely got to get in there and change the attitudes of people and support the Climate Change Commission's 50-year plan.
I say this respectfully, but sport doesn't really fit with us. It's, I guess, Sports Tairawhiti have cottoned on to it, where they've changed their name to Whiti Ora, which is a lot more encompassing of the community. If there's funding out there, absolutely. I think it's been said there needs to be collaboration, innovation. I think we live in a time now. There's lots and lots and lots of opportunities out there online. One innovation we've done as Ngati Porou Surf Lifesaving, we're working alongside, if they know Scion, they're a research lab out of Rotorua. We're looking at alternatives to surfboard foam. So that's a relationship in terms of sustainability as a club, as a body. So where is that heading? We just see it as opportunistic and absolutely looking forward to this new landscape. 25 years ago, we had a sports meeting here in Gisborne, and I remember this. And I remember the, what did they call them? Futurists. And he had a crystal ball there, and he said to us, don't get upset with what I'm about to tell you, but in 25 years, rugby, these games will not be around. And it's happening. And I don't say that disrespectfully, but you can see it in this area. Where I grew up with Ian Kirkpatrick and Sid Going and Billy Bush, my mokapunas and my kids don't know that. They're more into hunting, surfing, diving. So these activities that we have, open ocean paddling, surf ski paddling, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, thank you.
Kia ora, Peter.
Thank you. I think the only thing I would like to add is just advocacy for our sport and how important active recreation is. I know Stefan and Fitiora are doing an awesome job, but I think sometimes our yeah, good, okay. Sometimes we could make it a bit easier for community organizations to get our whānau active and not putting so many barriers in the way. And it can be as simple as moving a container for a limited amount of time or other opportunities that, that can engage more people and get them active. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Kia ora, Flo. I'm sure there's lots of hungry bellies out there. Kai has arrived. So can we put our hands together and thank our panellists who I think have offered so much knowledge and insight. Thank you, Glenn, Taryne, Peter, Flo, for your insights and sharing that with us today. Much appreciated. And keep up the awesome mahi.
Thank you.